Alright, today's lesson we're going to is lesson or chapter 33, and we're going to write fractions as percents. And if you remember from earlier, we did a couple projects on changing fractions to decimals and percents. Now we're going backwards. We're going to talk about changing fractions back to percents. So let's go ahead and go over some of this. Alright, we did the manipulative project a couple weeks ago, and basically what we talked about is using manipulatives to reduce fractions, and also we started memorizing the percents that went with the fractions. Alright, so this is half a pizza, half a circle, whatever you want to look at it, and on the back of this we know that half is equal to 50%, or 0.5. Okay, so alright, so a fourth of a circle is 25%, but we need to know how to go from 25% back to a fourth. One way is memorization, which I encourage you guys to memorize some of this stuff. 1/3 you should memorize is 33%, and you should also know that 33.3 repeating percent is 1/3. And then 1/10 is also 10%. Okay, 1/10 is 10%, 10% is 1/10. And this one's really important because 10, 20, 30, 40. If you know one of these, then that's kind of like knowing the multiples of 10. 10, two of them together is equal to 20%, so on and so forth. Alright, so that's a little bit of review. So let's move on to going from a percent back to a fraction. Alright, the word cent, I don't know if it's Latin or Greek, but it basically means 100. If you think about a century, that's 100 years. A centipede, supposedly 100 legs. It doesn't actually have 100 legs, but the root word cent means 100. So the word percent, that means in relation or compared to 100. So if you got on a test, if you got 90%, that means that if the test had 100 problems on it, you would have gotten 90 right. Has to do with the ratio. So everything is compared to 100. So if you want to go from 90% to a fraction, there's a couple different ways to think about it. So let's start with 90%. How you're going to write that as a fraction, since it's percent means 100, you're going to write it over 100. And we're comparing it to 90, so that would be 90 out of 100. Now this is how you change a percent to a fraction. Then all you have to do is reduce the fraction. So let's go ahead and divide top and bottom by 10. Divide by 10. Divide by 10. That's going to equal 9/10. All right. So the key points right here is whatever the percent is, say 75%. You just put 75 over 100, and then you reduce. Okay? This one you're going to reduce. Greatest common factor would be 25. Divide both by 25. 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So 75% is the same as 3/4. So let's look at that. There are fraction circles here. If you have 3/4, 3/4 does it not equal 75%? 25 times 3. So 75%, you have 75%, it also equals 3/4. Let's do a couple more problems. Alright, go ahead and do these two problems by yourself, and then check them. You can pause the video for a second while you do these problems, and then restart the video to see if you got them right. Alright, so the answer is 50 over 100, 70 over 100, which reduces to 1/2 and 7/10. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's move on and talk about a couple different types of problems. These problems get a little bit more difficult when you have to reduce, when the fraction is a little bit more difficult to reduce. Sometimes in your brain it's kind of hard to locate the greatest common factor, so it's a little bit more difficult to reduce. But there are some methods you can use. Alright, so 4%, we always start out, we know that cent means 100, so you put it over 100. Okay? So let's go ahead and reduce this. We know that we can divide top and bottom by 4. Actually, it looks better if I put the equal sign there. All right, 4 divided by 4 is going to be 1. 100 divided by 4 is going to be 25. That's 1/25. I've seen it. These are important to learn how to do. If you memorize your percents, it's going to be a lot easier to convert from fraction to decimal to percent and that kind of thing. So stay tuned for some paperwork and some little study help so that you can memorize these conversions. All right, so that is chapter 33. Hope that lesson helps. Pretty straightforward chapter. I think you guys will do well with this. It's not too hard. And I will see you guys tomorrow.